All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So, what the last week in the world of Journey has proven to me, and by the way, just before I launch into this video, I want to thank the band Resurrection, who had me as one of their guests last night, and they did a tremendous job. Resurrection is a Journey tribute band starring this vocalist, Ryan Christopher, who's just amazing. I'm sure everybody in Journey knows who Ryan Christopher is. Their drummer's actually Dean Castronovo's old drum tech from the 2000s, early 2000s. So a lot of quality musicianship going on last night, and vocals like you wouldn't believe. If you're a Steve Perry aficionado, you close your eyes and you listen and you're thinking, wow, that's really close to vintage Steve Perry. So again, thanks to Resurrection for that. Now, getting back to the video here. Steve Perry, what's he up to? What's going on? Why are so many people surprised? Well, they shouldn't be. And I covered this a little bit in the video where I ranted and raved because I was really fed up. And I'm probably going to give this topic a rest. Because honestly, even back in 2017, there was a point where I was like, okay, I can't keep talking about Journey. I just can't. Even though right now there's a ton to talk about. Steve Perry, I don't know. Does he hold a grudge? Is he still mad? Yep. Those are my takeaways. Here's why. During that whole comeback where Traces comes out, Noah Racing comes out, and he's doing all these interviews, and people are asking him about, hey, would you go back to Journey? No, I'm not the singer. Arnell is the singer. Schon wants to have a cup of coffee with you. What do you say? No, I'm not going to go for a coffee because that's the only reason he wants to get together is to make music, and I just would like to go out and have a cup of coffee. Or he didn't even say that, but he basically said if the only reason he wants to go have coffee with me is because he wants to get me back doing something with him, well, that doesn't sound like somebody who's really interested in me as a person. So this became very interesting, and then the topic of John Cain's book came up in an interview. And Perry really swatted that down and said, please don't talk about that book. Please, I don't want to hear about that. And so you can add these things up and just do simple deduction unless he comes out and says, yeah, I've forgiven those guys. I've forgiven. And my advice to everybody is to forgive. It's just easier. And at this stage in everybody's life and career, there's really no reason to keep this feud going. But it's going to keep going because, number one, I think the feud and the back and forth, it does create drama and publicity for Journey, and people are going to want to go see the train wreck. Like I say, they're going to go out and they're going to spend all kinds of money. They're going to wonder what this new Journey sounds like. Steve Perry is a very smart businessman. I don't think he would have even gotten involved with this board of directors stuff if he didn't think for a minute that he might be a controlling force in this going forward. He's still getting revenue. 12.5% of all revenue Steve Perry is getting. This is why probably Journey doesn't... They'll lose money if they record an album. They'll have to give whatever they have. They'll have to give the cut to Perry, and by the time anything comes back to them, it's going to be very little. Unless they can write, like Escape 2 or something, and I don't think that's going to occur. So what is this all about then? Well, Steve Perry was a guy who was wronged, and I'm thinking he just hasn't been able to let go of it. And is that healthy? Is it good? Of course not. Of course not. But this guy's had a rough and tumble childhood. He's had a real inferiority complex throughout most of his life. And I think he's always looking over his shoulder thinking that, hey, maybe I'm not as good as everybody says I am. The fans should really speak loudly and be very supportive of Steve Perry. Again, I'm not nuts about all of the legal shenanigans that are taking place, but I will say this: if Perry's entitled to something, he probably should get it because of his stature and because of his contributions to this band. So there you have it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Steve Perry, I tell you, I guarantee you there's still bad blood. And rather than do all these public statements, Perry has been a very private man. So I guess going to court is easier than making a phone call to Neil Schon at this stage. It's kind of what it sounds and feels like, but there's more to this story, and it will come out, and I will be here to cover it. All right, I'm done with this video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Don't forget about Patreon, only $1 a month over there. To join, you can do 2 or 5 or 10, whatever you want to give. But for $1, you get in there, and tons of conversation going on with or without me right now over on Patreon. This Journey stuff has folks really fired up. All right, see you soon.